Okay, so I'm going to show you what I did here to set up the scene that we had for night. I changed the environment map to one that was night sky. Okay, so I googled a night sky HDRI map and attached it here, and then drug it over here so that I could make changes to it. And I just needed to make adjustments to where it went. Okay, so it creates this. This is the rendered scene of it. It creates this sky with the moon, and then I changed the global lighting to very dark blue because that's what color the night light is. And under my automatic exposure control, I reduced the brightness and the contrast. These were both originally 50, and I just reduced them by 10 increments of 10 until I got what I thought looked right. So for me, that ended up being 20 for the brightness, 20 for the contrast with this map. Okay, so I applied that. I also went in and created a lamppost. If I can zoom out. There we go. I created a lamppost in my scene. It's just a very simple one for the sake of this tutorial. It's just a pole with a globe on top of it, and I attached metallic material to the post. And oh, that's strange. Oh, I'm up here. Okay. And then to the globe, I attached the standard surface. I left it white just to keep the white globe. And then I had it emit. I changed the emit. I didn't, not yet. Okay, well, I'm going to change the emission so that it casts light itself, because I want it to emit light. And that kind of looks like it might be all right. Let me just change. I'm going to change it to 0.25. For some reason, just seems that looks better. And so I would render this out to see if it kind of created, if the globe showed up in my scene. And it does, and it looks pretty good. Okay, and so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to close that, and I'm going to close that because I don't need it anymore, and I'm going to close this because I also don't need it anymore. So what I'm going to do in my scene is, I also moved my point light that I had in the area to where the moon would be. And I changed the color to light blue because, again, the light that the moon or the light of at night like this is always light blue. Okay. All right. So I've got my lamp post, which is right here, and it needs a light. And this is very simple. This is just, no way would that stand up in real life. But for the sake of this tutorial, it works fine for just a quick little light. I'm going to go and get my Arnold light. And I'm going to, under shape, point light works. Okay, and I'm going to come and I'm going to put it in the middle of, actually I really want to do it here. Yeah. I'm going to put it in the middle of my globe. Okay, and it's down there on the ground, so I need to pick it up. Make sure I get that in the middle of the globe. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so get my light in there. Now, this circle is how far out the light is going to go. And it's way too big, so I'm going to need to scale it down. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Just meant to select it. Okay, so I'm going to go to my Modify tab, and under the radius, I'm going to reduce that until that is nothing but that point light, which is the size of the light bulb. I don't want it to be bigger than that. Okay. Now, let's give it a render to see where we are. And it's not really doing a whole lot at this point. It's in there. We've got the light in there. but it needs to cast light. So we'll cancel this and select the light. And now we're going to come down here to we can, if we know the preset, we can make changes. Usually these kind of lights tend to cast incandescent as a bulb. Let's put that on there and see what happens. Render. It's not really casting any light yet. Okay. So I'm going to need to adjust my parameters. Okay, so my intensity, I'm just going to set this just from experience. I know to try 12 by 12 as a starting place. We're not there yet. This got off center somehow. Okay. Whoops. Select the light bulb again. Make sure nothing's... I did this earlier and the light worked fine at that setting, so... Let's turn it really far up here. Let me try something. Let me check the globe to make sure it's... it's not transmitting. I need to increase the transmission to make that see-through. Let's see what we did. Blew it out. Okay, so it's a good thing I didn't do that, so you guys can see how to problem solve this. In order for light that's on the inside of something to get out, you have to change your transmission. And I don't know, whoops, let me cancel this so it stops. And you can see now this is overblown. It's kind of cool looking though. Sometimes I like things that are like that. All right, I'm going to bring this down just to 0.95 and check thin walled. Okay, and so now I'm going to go back and select my, and that was the material that was on the globe. I didn't have it so that the light could transmit through. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and change it to what it originally was, which was 4 and 8. Okay, now let's render this out. And now you can see that's perfect. Those are the right settings. I've got this light, nice little amount of light that is, let's see if this will, let me make it bigger. Not while it's going. Okay, so now you can see that light, that globe is casting that beautiful amount of light, and it's very realistic, and that is exactly what probably may not be an incandescent bulb, but it could be what an incandescent bulb would do. Now my globe might be emitting a little too much, so I'm gonna bring that down. I'm going to change it to, let's change it to 0.1. It was 0.25. Yeah, maybe that'll do it. And once I get one of these, then I can, yeah, that looks good. Perfect, that's what I want. Okay, close this, or cancel this, because I don't need it to render all the way out. Now once I get one, what I can do is select, hold down the control button, and group my lamp together, and so that I can then come in here and make copies of it. Oops. Sorry. I'm going to do it in here. Okay. Let's do it here. Okay, so shift, and I'm going to drag this over to about the middle point. And I'm going to make 2 copies and say OK. And now I have 3 street lights. And then I'm going to select them in this view, all 3 of them, and copy them across the street here, about the same distance. OK. And now let's render that out. Okay, and so you can see it's beautiful, right? I mean, this is exactly what I want, but I've got one problem. The reflections that are being cast on the buildings are too shiny. So what I'm going to need to do is go into those materials and reduce my specular. I set it at 65. Let's try 25. I want some, but I don't want that much. And I'll need to do it for all of them. Otherwise, it looks fake. That's a little too. It's not going to do that. And one of the best ways to know what things are going to do is to go out and to observe them in reality, or Google them. That specular was way down. Well, that's why it looks fine, I guess. Okay, so let's render this out again. Still a little too much. That other one was 0.9, so let's try that. Yeah, there we go. And that is a very simple, easy way to create a night scene and use lamps in that scene. And so when you're working with these, zoom in there, when you're working with these Arnold lights, oh, it's grouped. It's not letting me do it. Okay, I have to ungroup it. Okay. Okay, so when you're working with these Arnold lights, you can make all kinds of changes. So I would recommend looking some of these up to see what they should look like, or just playing around with them, because sometimes it's just easier to pick the light bulb. But if not, you can always, and I'll just show you, you can always change the color. So say I had something, I wanted to do that I wanted to be a little more creative. I could change that myself. And you see it's casting a pink light now. So you could use that for, well, at least just this one. You see it cast that pink light. If I wanted to do neon, you could use the fluorescent setting. Let's bring this in. Whoops, I got one too many in there somehow. Okay, so this one right here. And you could use the fluorescent, or you could use the bulb to create, a street sign and light it up. Okay, I'm going to stop this one here.